Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're skipping our usual agenda so we can plunge right into the core tension at the absolute heart of the world's most popular sport. We're going to look at the eternal, epic battle between Cole's hard data and raw, unpredictable sports magic. So I want to pose this question directly to you, right off the bat. Can the beautiful game actually be reduced to a mathematical equation? Think about it. In our modern era, where literally every pass, tackle, and heartbeat is tracked, can academic analysis truly solve a sport that's as chaotic as football? If we crunch the numbers hard enough, can we mathematically predict a winner? Okay, let's dive into this. There's this really famous, very old football adage that simply states, "the ball is round." It's a simple phrase, right? But it represents the inherent, beautiful unpredictability of the whole sport. A bad bounce off a tiny tuft of grass, a sudden gust of wind, a split-second lapse in concentration. Honestly, anything can happen precisely because the ball is round. But data scientists are increasingly coming out and arguing that this unpredictability can, in fact, be tamed.
Part 1. The Formula for Winning. Math in Football.
So let's explore a fascinating academic attempt to decode what actually makes a team successful. We're looking at a bachelor thesis report from the KTH Royal Institute of Technology. These researchers essentially sought to isolate the exact variables that dictate a win using modern data analytics. And they didn't just casually watch a few games. They analyzed a massive data set containing information for every single English Premier League game played between 2010 and 2020. That is 4,070 individual matches. To make sense of all this massive data, the researchers utilized a method called logistic regression. Now, I know that sounds like heavy math, but let's break this academic concept down simply. Logistic regression is just a classification algorithm. Its entire job is to explain the relationship between a binary outcome, in our case, either winning or not winning a match, and specific random variables. So the researchers took match-related statistics, things like clearances, corners, fouls, and possession, and mathematically mapped them to the probability of securing a victory. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the correlation plot right from their study. When you look at all these stats, you run into a problem called multicollinearity, which is just a fancy way of saying the variables overlap. For example, look at the dark blue squares. They show that passes, possession, and touches are all incredibly strongly correlated to each other. Because they overlap so much, the researchers had to strip away this clutter. They had to mathematically isolate the data to find the true, independent predictors of a win without double counting the exact same type of action. After running the logistic regression model, the KTF study established what we can call the scientific rules of winning. The data showed that the strongest predictors of victory are: number 1, securing the home advantage; number 2, having a high clinical rating, which they defined as the fraction of shots on target divided by the total shots taken; and number 3, minimizing red cards and conceded fouls. So, science basically says, play at home, be incredibly precise when you shoot, and stay out of the referee's notebook. Simple enough, right? Part 2. Setting the ultimate stage. Camp Nou, 1999. But how do these clinical, scientific rules hold up under the most extreme pressure imaginable? Let me paint a picture of the setting for you. It's May 26, 1999. We're at the massive Camp Nou Stadium in Barcelona, Spain. The weather is perfectly clear, 21 degrees Celsius, and there are 90,245 screaming spectators in the stands. This is the UEFA Champions League final. And absolutely crucial for our KTH data model, this is a neutral venue. Instantly, before a ball is even kicked, both teams are stripped of the model's most powerful variable, the home advantage. Comparing their domestic runs on this table, you can see the sheer magnitude of this clash. On one side, we have Manchester United, the English Premier League champions and FA Cup winners who had been waiting 31 agonizing years for a European Cup title. On the other side, Bayern Munich, the German Bundesliga champions and DFB Pokal finalists, waiting 23 years for European glory. Both clubs were on the brink of an unprecedented treble, meaning winning their domestic league, domestic cup, and the European Cup all in a single season. The stakes literally could not be higher. Part 3. 90 minutes of frustration. Bayern dominates. This is where the game entirely defied Manchester United's game plan and heavily favored Bayern's worthless efficiency. Let's walk through the timeline of the 90 minutes. It was absolute agony for the English side. Just 6 minutes in, Bayern's Mario Basler places a low free kick right around the wall and scores 1-0, just like that. From there, Bayern totally dominated the truly dangerous chances. At 75 minutes, United's goalkeeper Peter Schmeichel has to tip a dangerous shot from Stefan Effenberg over the bar. At 80 minutes, Mehmet Scholl chips the ball right off the goalpost. And at 84 minutes, Karsten Janker attempts a spectacular overhead kick that violently smashes the crossbar. As the clock ticked away, Manchester United were just entirely frustrated. Contrasting their tactical situations reveals exactly why this was happening. Manchester United were fundamentally compromised. Their midfield generals, Captain Roy Keane and Paul Scholes, were both suspended for the final. This forced their manager, Sir Alex Ferguson, to play as star players totally out of their natural positions. Bayern Munich, meanwhile, featured a highly organized defense anchored by sweeper Lothar Matthäus and were completely lethal on the counterattack. Bayern was effectively executing a statistically perfect, clinical game. They were playing by the math.
Part 4. The Injury Time Miracle. A historic reversal.
So the crucial point is this single digit right here. 3. The math said Bayern Munich had won. The trophy was literally, physically being decorated with their team ribbons down on the sideline. But as the 90 minutes expired, the fourth official indicated there would be just 3 minutes of injury time added to the end of the match. 3 minutes to change the course of football history. In the 91st minute, United win a corner kick. With so little time left, their goalkeeper, Peter Schmeichel, actually abandons his net and sprints up the pitch to cause chaos in the Bayern penalty area. The corner comes in, the ball bounces wildly, and a weak shot from Ryan Giggs falls to substitute Teddy Sheringham. He swipes at it with his right foot, nesting the ball in the bottom corner of the net. The match broadcaster, Clive Tildesley, screamed the now legendary quote, "Name on the trophy, Teddy Sheringham, with 30 seconds of added time played, has equalized for Manchester United."
It looked like we were for sure heading to extra time. But less than 30 seconds after the restart, United attacked again and forced another corner. Look at this number. There were exactly 43 seconds left on the clock in those 3 minutes of injury time when the ball was placed by the corner flag.
David Beckham swings the corner in. Sheringham nods the ball down across the face of the goal. And another substitute, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, reacts fastest. He sticks out a foot and pokes the ball straight into the roof of the net. Tildesley's voice echoed in millions of living rooms. And Solskjaer has won it. Manchester United have reached the promised land. The sudden reversal was so shocking. The noise in the stadium was so deafening that referee Pierluigi Collina later described the crowd's reaction as a lion's roar. Bayern players literally collapsed to the ground, totally overwhelmed with despair, unable to even comprehend what had just happened. The sheer visceral shock of the victory was summarized beautifully by Manchester United's manager, Sir Alex Ferguson. In a post-match interview, completely stunned, he offered this iconic, succinct quote, "Football, eh? Bloody hell." It's honestly the perfect poetic contrast to the clinical logistic regression models we started this explainer with. Part 5. Data versus the beautiful game. Analyzing the miracle. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact conflict at the heart of the sport. Let's evaluate this historic match through the analytical lens of the KTH study. Look at what the math says should win a game on the left. The KTH model relies on home advantage, it demands clinical shot accuracy, and it values predictable, repeatable outcomes. But look at the 1999 reality on the right. A neutral venue, 2 incredibly scrappy, deflected goals stemming from chaotic corner kicks, and 3 minutes of total stochastic chaos that upended 90 minutes of prior data. The despair of the Bayern players was profound. Their captain, Lothar Matthäus, who had actually been substituted off with 10 minutes remaining when victory seemed assured, later commented, "It was not the best team that won, but the luckiest." He deeply felt the sting of a game where his team's total statistical and tactical dominance was completely undone by an unpredictable, lucky bounce of a round ball. So what does this all mean? Data can definitely guide a team. A logistic regression model can tell a manager to minimize fouls and maximize shots on target, and it's incredibly useful for building a baseline of success. But I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Is the sheer inability to perfectly predict football exactly what makes it so beautiful? We can sit here and analyze the statistics all day long, but the magic of the unknown, those final 3 minutes of injury time where math simply ceases to matter, that is exactly why we watch. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.